Do I have a motion to reconvene in open session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The board is now in open session. Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution certifying the closed session?
Now therefore be it resolved that the school board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the school board.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the first personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/35-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/36-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/37-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/38-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/39-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/40-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/41-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/42-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/43-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/44-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Is there a motion regarding the next personnel matter?
In case number 2023-24/45-HR, it is recommended that the superintendent's recommendation be upheld.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the December 12th, 2023 School Board Business Meeting to order. Before we begin the meeting this evening, I would like to thank everyone for attending and remind the audience that comments to this board may only be made at the podium during the public comment period. Comments from the audience are prohibited and are in violation of Section 18.2-415 of the Code of Virginia, Disorderly Conduct in Public Places, and School Board Policy 6141. I appreciate everyone's patience and understanding so that we can conduct the business meeting in an orderly fashion. We will now have invocation by Mrs. Heffron, followed by flag salute led by Mrs. Bailey.
For tonight's invocation, I would like to recognize with a moment of silence the passing of Earl Johnny Towns, a custodian day porter at Clover Hill Elementary School, who joined CCPS on March 11th, 2013. Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you.
To the flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's consent agenda includes agenda adoption, approval of the minutes from our November 2nd, 2023 special meeting, November 14th, 2023 work session, November 14th, 2023 business meeting, December 6th, 2023 legislative delegation meeting, December 6th, 2023 special meeting. Memo number 164-23, recommended personnel actions. Memo number 165-23, FY 2024, acceptance of new grants. Memo number 166-23, acceptance of donations. Memo number 168-23, FY 2023, appropriation changes, elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds, ESSER 2. Memo number 169-23, approval of Head Start grant application. Memo number 13923, Carver College and Career Academy students kitchen renovation. Are there any additions or corrections to the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, there are no additions or corrections to the consent agenda.
Are there any requests from a school board member to separate an item from the consent agenda for discussion and individual action? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye, the motion carries. Next, we have awards and recognitions. Mr. Smith.
For our first recognition, I could ask Parker Black and Amanda Bernecki to come forward this time. Parker Black, a junior at Clover Hill High, won first place in this year's student video contest sponsored by the Virginia School Board Association. His video was judged best in the statewide contest with the theme, quote, "We are better united than divided," end quote. His video titled Colorfully United and featuring crayons in multiple languages, Parker's video was shown during the association's fall conference. Parker is enrolled in Clover Hill High animation class taught by Amanda Bernecki. Please join me in congratulating Parker.
Congratulations, Parker. We're really proud of you. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your project? And I first have to tell you, at the VSBA, this is like the Virginia School Board, so the statewide, so out of the entire state, your animated feature was selected as the best. So if you can tell us a little bit about it, and what about your process and about your creative journey to get there.
Okay. Thank you. It just started out as an idea that I had. Just the idea of the video is it's a video of crowns and they are disorganized and not in a box, and then using stop motion and the resources provided by the school, they come together in a box, and then they all come in color, which fits the narrative of the video, which is the idea that we are better united than divided. Thank you.
It's wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations again. Congratulations to you too.
If I could ask the Midlothian High boys volleyball team to come forward at this time. Slide right across. The Midlothian High School boys volleyball team captured the VHSL Class 6 state championship in a hard-fought match against Thomasdale High School. This is the second year in a row that Midlothian High teams have won state titles. The girls team won the 2022 championship. In the 2023 boys volleyball championship match at the VCU Siegel Center, Thomasdale won the first set, Midlothian won the second and third sets, then Thomasdale won the fourth set. In the fifth and tie-breaking set, Midlothian won 15-13 to bring home the boys volleyball championship for the first time since 2014. Please join me in congratulating the boys volleyball team.
So generally, we all come together and support the whole county, except when it comes to sports. And I'm so glad my district won. Thank goodness. Thanks for doing this for Midville. So if you can share your name and shout out if you have anybody in the audience that's here to support you, and anything you want to share. This is your moment. You did this. Awesome.
My name is Caleb Brown, and I'd like to thank my mom for coming. And I'd like to thank Coach Wojo for being an amazing coach and helping me along the season.
My name is Dylan Mosey. I'd also like to thank Coach Wojo for everything he's done for this team. That was also me.
My name is Nathan Carluck. I'd like to thank my mom and Coach Wojo for everything he's done for us.
My name is Matthew Knuckles. I'd like to thank my mom for coming, and again, thank Wojo.
My name is Jack Corizini. I'd like to thank my parents for coming and coach and the team as a whole.
My name is Ian Wojciechowski. I am the coach of the young men you have before you. I'd like to thank everybody in the Midlothian community. Wouldn't have done it without you guys, and definitely wouldn't have had such a great team to coach to the state title. So thank you all.
My name is Spencer Canland, and it has been nothing but an honor to play with all my teammates and supported by friends and family, of course.
My name is Caden Oddberg, and I'd like to thank my mom for coming tonight and also Coach Wojo.
My name is Carter Gill. I'd like to thank Coach Wojo and my teammates for helping us to have a great season.
My name is Drew Fetchko, and I'd like to thank my dad for never missing a game and my mom for her love.
My name is Brady Schlensker. I'd like to thank my mom and dad for coming and for Coach Wojo for not only making me a better volleyball player, but a better person.
My name is Max Law. I'd like to thank my mom for coming. I'd like to thank Coach for being the best coach in the state.
My name is Josh Shins. I'd like to thank my parents for helping on the season and all the other parents too, and also Coach Wojo for just helping us out the whole year.
Good luck next year.
Thank you.
If I could ask our United Way representatives to come forward at this time.
Well, you can dig them out.
Each year, Team Chesterfield gives generously to the United Way to support neighbors who need a helping hand. The school division's communications and community engagement teams lead the United Way campaign in partnership with employees across the school division who volunteer their time to be United Way contact in their schools. We celebrate each employee of Chesterfield County Public Schools who donates to United Way. We're especially thankful for these generous, hardworking volunteers for all they do to run the United Way campaign within their schools. We're excited to share that our employees raised over $60,000 for United Way in the 2023 campaign, and we'd like to give a shout out to Alberta Smith Elementary, which for the second year in a row has had the highest percentage of participation with 76% of their employees contributing to the campaign. Please join me in congratulating these employees.
So congratulations for what? Volunteering, right? Because that's literally the key word in what he just said. You are volunteers. You don't get paid to do what you do, and it's a job. Because I had to do it one year as a teacher, and collecting all those forms and hounding people to contribute. And I don't know if the winner, are you the, which, right here? Way to go, dude. Because let me tell you, trying to beat all the other schools and raising the most funds it's like, you know, getting money out of teachers is not an easy feat. So congratulations. If you'd like to just introduce yourself and tell us what school you're from, then have a great evening.
Hi, I'm Wendy Collins. I'm representing A.M. Davis Elementary School.
Hi, I'm Doug Rogers. I'm from Alberta Smith Elementary School, and I just want to shout out my staff. They're amazing and super generous, and I wouldn't be here without them.
I can't follow that up. Christina McCluskey, Tomahawk Creek Middle.
Congratulations. Good work. Thank you.
If I could ask our friends from Robies Elementary to come forward at this time. The French dual immersion program at Robies Elementary School is being recognized with the prestigious distinction of the Labelle Franc education from the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Embassy of France in the United States. Dignitaries from the French Embassy will visit Robies Elementary to announce their award in person. The seal is a recognition of the French dual language immersion program at Robies Elementary and of Robies Elementary's commitment to a shared mission of promoting the French language and culture. Robies Elementary is the first Central Virginia school and the second school in the entire state to achieve this recognition, which covers 2023 to 2026. Please join me in congratulating Robies Elementary Principal Karen Chapman and the entire team for this recognition.
Je ne savais pas si tu savais que j'habitais dans un pays francophone. Alors, pour moi, c'est vraiment un honneur. So, I love French, and this is a great honor. And if you want to share what you love best about this program, that would be fantastic.
Again, I'm Karen Chapman. I'm the principal here at Robies Elementary. I started a few years ago inheriting the program, so we've just tried to keep the mission and vision alive. And this year we are so lucky to have our French intern from France, Nina Clements, and she is sharing about her native country of France and her language, and the kids are loving it. She's doing a lunch bunch with some of the kids where they're only speaking in French, so they're getting a lot out of the program this year, and we really want to keep it, continue it as much as possible.
I'm Allison Ferguson. I'm the instructional designer, and I love supporting this amazing team of teachers through their passion and love of French, which they pass on to the kids who love to learn French.
I'm Melissa Pearson, and I'm a kindergarten teacher, so I am so excited to get the little ones to learn a love for a second language. I'm lucky enough to have been part of this program since the beginning, so it's really, really a great thing to watch the kids grow in a second language.
I'm Annetta Riley. I teach French in 4th and 5th grade. This is my 3rd year in the program, and I have to say, it is any foreign language teacher's dream come true. This program is a jewel in the crown of foreign language education, and I feel privileged to be part of it. Thank you to Karen Chapman and Allison Ferguson, and also Alyssa Pearson, our team lead, for all their support in making everything that we do possible.
So I'm Nina Clémence. I'm the French intern, and I really love working with the kids of all ages at Rebus Elementary School, and that's a really good team that we have.
We love working with you too. I'm Leslie Corbin. I teach first grade dual language immersion at Rubius, and my favorite thing is just the little light bulbs that pop all the time. They're always learning something, and it's really, really exciting.
I'm Kristen Jones, and I teach second grade. This is my 4th year, and I have to parrot what Annetta says. It's such a dream because you get to combine the children and the language, and it just comes together very naturally and beautifully. So, and I'm very grateful to work with all of you, and it's a great community. So, thank you.
And sadly, I will not be there. It's been harder to make my work hours and school board hours fit at the end of the day. But I would ask that we figure, I guess this is more for the next board, that we figure out how to expand this obviously award-winning program so that everybody in Rubius Elementary School has access to it, and that when they finish at Rubius Elementary, they can continue on with the appropriate support in place, because I think they will probably not fit in a French 1 at Rubius Middle. That's just my guess. So we need to, we are really good at starting amazing programs, and we have to give these programs the continued support so they can truly grow. So that is my wish to the next board. Thank you so much. This is
If I could ask our friends from communities and schools to come forward at this time. A little over 30 years ago, a group of community and Chesterfield County Public Schools leaders visited a Communities and Schools affiliate in Charlotte, North Carolina to see the CIS model in action. Coordinated services provided directly inside schools to ensure students had what they needed to focus on school and reach graduation. CIS provides students with comprehensive integrated student support services, an evidence-based model that relies on the whole child approach that recognizes the importance of health and safety, socio-emotional development, behavior, healthy relationships, and career development for a child's educational success. Today, in Chesterfield Schools, Communities in Schools serves nearly 13,000 students across 13 schools. This growth is a testament to 30 years of the organization's successful delivery of its model and the value it adds to Chesterfield County Public Schools. Tonight, we celebrate the 30th anniversary of CIS of Chesterfield and recognize its current board and staff, as well as the hundreds of dedicated and passionate individuals who've empowered students over the last 3 decades. Please join me in congratulating CIS of Chesterfield.
Happy birthday. And I wish I'd gotten the memo. I would have worn my CIS shirt too. So, you know, this is very special for me. It's been my pleasure to be the school board liaison for Communities and Schools for several years, and being able to witness firsthand the magic that happens in the schools when CIS comes in. I'm gonna hand this over to Ashley. So I feel like you have the tools to put this much more eloquently and what the meaning of the program than I do. You live and breathe it.
Oh, well, we all do up here. I just really quickly want to say thank you to Sean, to Dr. Doherty, to the whole CCPS leadership team. This school board has been amazing. Every single one of you has been an advocate for us, so thank you. I think it's important to remember that because this model is in schools, if we don't have the support of the district, we can't exist. So a huge thank you to you all. And then a shout out We've got the very first executive director of CIS here, the very first site coordinator. Once you go CIS, you don't go back. You keep it in your blood. And we have an incredible, some representatives from our staff and our team and our board up front and in the audience. And it's the most passionate, compassionate group of people that you can find. So I am grateful to be part of this 30th anniversary and look forward to the next 30 more. Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you for everything that you guys do. You're awesome.
I should have given you the memo.
I know. I really will. I'll wear the shirt next time. I'll wear it next month. It'll be late. It's all year. Congratulations, you all. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Next, we have recognition of outstanding drivers. Dr. Fry. Or a fill-in. Or a substitute.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Doherty, and school board members. I'm Tasha Drew, the Assistant Director of Transportation, and it is my pleasure to present our December Drivers of the Month that are being recognized for outstanding driver performance. Providing safe transportation for students to and from school every day is essential to instruction, and our Chesterfield County Public School bus drivers go above and beyond to accomplish this mission every day. Although often an unsung hero, to many of our students, this bus driver is a role model for patience, hard work, kindness, and dedication. CCPS bus drivers are to be commended for their commitment to the schools and families in which they serve. There are many bus drivers who could be recognized this month, but each transportation area manager had to make the tough decision of selecting a single bus driver who has exemplified excellence and dedication to represent their area. We would like to recognize and honor the following drivers. Bhupinder Singh, Area 1, Bus 364, 1 year of service. Corey Williams, Area 2, Bus 587, 4 months of service. Very sorry. Mark McWilliams, Area 3, Bus 648, 1 year of service. Rosie Lopez, Area 4, Bus 50, 1 year of service. And Karen Ramos Vasquez, Area 5, Bus 40, 2 years of service. Thank you.
So perhaps one of the most important jobs is transporting our kids to school and getting them home safe. Nothing else can happen without that. So I do want to let you know that drivers have my admiration, because I don't think it's a job that I could do. I can't even stand when my kids were in the back of yelling, and you guys have 45 or plus in there. So I just want to say thank you for driving our kids safely. And I wanted to ask if any of you want to chime in and say, what keeps you coming back to work every day? What gets you up bright and early in the morning to bring those beautiful faces to school?
Good afternoon, everyone. One of the things they make me wake up every morning early is support those kids, have an education, because I'm a mother too. And I think everything's happened for a reason. Honestly, I have one, is my younger boy at the school, and the main reason why I take this decision is for him. I never mean that I'm gonna drive for speed kids, but it's the best thing can happen to me. Thank you.
Good night. My name is Rosie. I'm not speaking English so much, but my Area 4 understand perfectly. I don't know how. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. The Area 4. Every day I'm learning something with my kids. I love my kids. It's not quiet, but I love my kids. Yes.
First of all, I'd like to thank Area 3 team. Our support team is just simply amazing. And I have the honor and privilege to transport kids to school every day because I truly believe that education is the currency of the 21st century. And now I have the opportunity to help kids in our community to achieve that goal. So it's a tremendous honor for me. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Williams. Truly honored to accept this. Thank you. Shout out to Ron. They definitely help me get up each morning, and I appreciate it. The kids definitely give me something to look forward to. And they have personalities. They're very funny kids, smart kids. They definitely keep me coming back along with my area team and office and coworkers. Thank you.
I'm Candace. I'm the Area 1 manager. My driver couldn't make it this evening, but I just wanted to tell all of you I'm very proud to be a part of your team.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Next, we have recognition of outstanding food service employees, Mr. Dunbrack.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Doherty, thank you as always for the opportunity to recognize some of our outstanding food nutrition services team members. Recently I had a conversation with a cafeteria manager that seemed appropriate for the season of giving we're currently in. While speaking with this particular manager, I thanked her for always being flexible in making members of her staff available to other schools to cover last-minute absences. The manager responded with nervous laughter, with both of us aware of the stress that this adds to our kitchen. She then said that if she can be of assistance to those who are in need, she wants to be, and that we are all on the same team here. We are incredibly fortunate to have an entire team in food nutrition services that values giving regardless of the season. So we are delighted to have 5 honorees with us this evening. Our first honoree is Donna Pliego. Ms. Pliego is a food service associate at Tomahawk Creek Middle School. She's been with Chesterfield County Public Schools since August. She says, I love my team, so it's easy to come to work every day. Knowing I get to feed hungry students every day is very fulfilling and makes me smile. Next, we have Donna Mate. Ms. Mate is a food service associate at Clover Hill Elementary School. She's been with Chesterfield County Public Schools for 14 years. She says, there are many things I love about my job, but the best part is being with the students and my coworkers. They're wonderful. Next, we have Doris Keaton. Ms. Keaton is a food service associate at Elizabeth Scott Elementary School, and she's been with Chesterfield County Public Schools Food Nutrition Services Department for 34 years. She says, what motivates me after 34 years in food services will always be the kids. Even with all the hours on my feet and all the dishes that I've washed, I still look forward to coming to work. Next, we have Yesenia Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez is the assistant manager at Shockley Elementary School, and she's been with Chesterfield County Public Schools for 4 years. She says, my favorite part of the job is when I see the students smiling and eating the food we prepared for them with love. Lastly, we have Michelle Kennedy. Ms. Kennedy is the assistant manager at OB Gates Elementary School. She's been employed with Chesterfield County Public Schools for 15 years and says, working here has always brought me great joy. My mottos have always been students first and serve with a smile. The gratification of knowing that we have reached so many hungry students brings me great joy and pleasure to continue the job I've always loved. So thank you all.
Congratulations, and I'm honored to stand here with you today. My mother was a nutrition worker at Wells Elementary School. Long time ago. And so I know how hard you work on a daily basis, and I know how important what you do is, because as a teacher for 34 years, I knew that my students were not going to learn one thing if they were hungry, and you guys fix that for us. They come into the classroom first thing in the morning and are asking at 8 a.m. what's for lunch. So you have a very critical role in our school system, and I hope you feel honored. You are the best of the best, and we really appreciate all that you do. If you'd like to just say your name. Oh, he said your name, so we'll let you. Don't want to talk. You want to talk? Everybody wants to say anything? Thank you very much. You're welcome. Well, you guys are very special, and I'm honored to be standing here with you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Before we move on in the agenda, we have one more special recognition. I'm going to read something first, and then I will announce who the recognition is for. Chesterfield County Public Schools continues to be cited as a model for excellence in public education. Educators from outside of the school division routinely visit our nationally recognized schools to learn more about what we are doing, how we're doing it, and why we are doing it. Our outstanding teachers, support staff members, and leaders are top-notch educators whom others seek to emulate. We are proud to be a school division others aspire to be like. And all of that is because of our superintendent, Dr. Daugherty, who, it's a surprise, who is being recognized for his 5th year of service with Chesterfield County Public Schools. And he gets his official pin. Would you like to say anything? We'll hear from him later in the evening. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. So next we have public comment. For this meeting, citizens were given the option of submitting their comments online or in person. Comments submitted via the online form were sent to the board prior to the start of tonight's meeting and will be included in full as an addendum to the meeting minutes. Madam Clerk, would you please announce this evening's in-person speakers?
Madam Chair, we have 8 speakers this evening. They are Adam Campen, Charlotte Carter, Nate Ball, Laura Berge-Jones, Laura Keetle, Ann Tatus, Dominique Chatters, and Robert Ebereth. Each speaker will have 4 minutes to address the board. There's a timer set up on top of the podium that will turn green when you begin speaking, yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and red when your time has expired. As a reminder, no personal belongings other than a cell phone and speaker notes are allowed at the podium. Please have your materials organized in a manner that as you arrive at the podium, you are prepared to start speaking. Please note that comments equivalent to campaigning for any public office are in violation of School Board Policy 1110 and are prohibited. May we have Adam Campen. Charlotte Carter. Nate Ball.
Hello, School Board. I'd like to talk about a really fun topic. It's called bigotry. So bigotry, irrespective of how it's articulated and symbolized, is still just that. It's bigotry. No symbolism, slogan, rhetorical devices, or euphemisms, and certainly no statue or flag can change that. Apparently, we have a fringe group of people pushing various flags, just such a straight pride flag. This is a poor attempt to hide their bigotry behind an everyone should be allowed to do it if they get to do it mentality. Thankfully, it's a small group, but the fact is that they are trying to express their bigotry, however thinly veiled, by weaponizing the use of a flag. As we all know, the purpose of a flag or a symbol is to identify a group and to signify to others what they stand for and or against. In the case of Old Glory, it represents the country we stand for and stand behind, but as a national flag, it can also stand for government, ideals, and even as an identifier on the world stage in combat or not. The rainbow or pride flag does similar things. It lets others know that those who use it as a symbol are using it as a supporter of the LGBTQ+ community and that they are welcome. Note, the pride flag does not, by design or application, exclude anyone. It is simply a recognition of the diversity of sexual orientations in our community. Unfortunately, flags such as this poorly designed straight pride flag is exclusively exclusionary. And as such, it is a marker that there are people not welcome to the human community. If some of you don't think so, replace the word straight with the word white. Different words, but same concept. My concern for the school board and parents is that when there are adults who participate in willing ignorance and intolerance, children can follow suit, and that is where the real abuse of children begins. Anyone that advocates for a straight pride flag should interrogate critically what they believe necessitates its creation. It seems to me that it is an attempt to trivialize and render invisible an already marginalized group. I also want to be very clear. These people who want to push straight pride flags and others like it are the same people who whined and whinged in the past, saying things like, why do they get black entertainment television? Why not white entertainment television? Or if there's Black History Month, why not White History Month? Now, I don't have the time here to go through the multitude of reasons why, because these people generally don't understand historical context, historical nuance, or what the definitions of context or nuance even are. Needless to say, every month in this country is White History Month because whether we like it or not, this is still a white, Christian, straight nation. If you don't believe me, try not being white, try not being Christian, and try not being straight. I also understand in order to do this would require a level of empathy not found amongst these people. That's not to say that these people are inherently bigots, but to paraphrase Andrew Gillum, I'm not saying you're a bigot, but the bigots think you're a bigot. Ultimately, I believe the concern may be less about the symbolism of the pride flag, but more about the unfounded concern of indoctrination. Having taught public school myself and still entrenched in the community of public school teachers, teachers wouldn't have the time to do this anyways. In fact, if I had had the time, or if our teachers had the time to indoctrinate students, we would have indoctrinated them to turn in their work on time, to make study and practice a high priority, and to be kind to each other at all times. In fact, the only time public schools do have a time to indoctrinate children is by forcing them to recite the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning each day. Again, parents and school board, instead of the pervasive fear we thrust upon our kids, how about we use this time to educate people out of it? Ask the questions, why did the African American community feel they needed to have a BET or a Black History Month? Why do marginalized communities such as LGBTQ+ feel the need to have symbols and flags? Maybe it's because when someone isn't represented, when someone doesn't feel safe in places such as schools or even businesses, then people don't want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want a seat at the table. Thank you.
Okay, we have Laura Berge Jones.
Good evening. I'm here tonight just to talk a little bit about the power of literacy. Reading is such a basic skill, something that we often take for granted, those of us who have that skill, but it is a powerful skill that opens doors and creates opportunities for our students and for all of us who are really lifelong learners. In 2022, the Virginia Literacy Act passed in the General Assembly, and that act is meant to be implemented in the coming school year. It is intended to improve literacy rates across the state. And so I'm here tonight as a parent and as a community member asking that obviously, some of you will not be here in the coming year, but I am going to be paying attention because I want to know what are the resources and what are the strategies in place for the implementation of the Virginia Literacy Act. I want to know how we are going to be improving the literacy rates of our children, the outcomes, but also what are the strategies that we're going to be implementing. I've heard some things already about a lot of online tools, and I'm especially curious to know about the in-person and the one-on-one tools. I'm especially concerned about students who do not, whose digital literacy and who may not be able to learn as easily on a screen. And so I'm here tonight just to advocate for continued support for all of our students to make sure that whether folks already communicate in English, whether they already can learn on a screen, they're getting the tools and the support that they need. I want to just advocate on behalf of all of the families who are already doing our very best to help our kids. And I want to thank you all for the work that you've done for the past term. And just again, let you know that we're here paying attention. I want to also just recognize that literacy and reading, it's not just something that happens on the page, right? The interactions that we have, we can read one another and we can read the signs of things that are happening around us in our community. And so shifting slightly, I want to just address the fact that in the school board meetings that I've attended so far, there have been people on one side of the room advocating very powerfully for certain topics, and then other people on the other side of the room advocating on the other side of many of the same topics. But last month, something really powerful happened where one of those people stood up and instead of talking about things that on a particular side, he spoke as a father. He spoke about something terrible that happened to his daughter. And what happened at the very end of that meeting was that one of the people from the other side came over and shook his hand and said, "I'm so sorry that happened." What happened was they read those signs. One man saw that experience could have been me. And that was empathy in action.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Laura Keatle.
Good evening. So this has a little story to it. I'll beg your patience for it. 44 years ago, when I was a student at Virginia Tech, a local store owner put me on a list of bad students who bounced checks. I didn't bounce that check. In fact, it cleared, and I had a copy of it. But by then, it was turned over to his attorney, and he had a process, and the process could not be stopped. So I wound up fingerprinted and going to court, and I showed the court the check that had been canceled by my bank, and I proved that I had paid the amount of the check, and the judge dismissed it because that's what our legal system does. They dismissed it. There was no evidence that I had committed any crime, and so it was dismissed. So when I applied to be a substitute teacher 44 years later, it showed up on a police report showing that it was dismissed. And the HR department rejected me as a candidate for a substitute teacher over a charge, something I didn't do, that was determined by a court that I didn't do it. Now here's my ask, because I wouldn't come to you with just a random problem and being angry. I came to you because there's no appeal process. When I said, I have a top secret security clearance. I've worked on stealth fighters. I spent 3 years in Afghanistan defending the networks of our fire systems, our fire control systems. I've done very secretive work, and if you have a TS clearance, and if you ever had one, then you know that you are examined from top to bottom, not just you, but everybody you know and everybody you're related to. And yet, the school board HR department thought that I was some kind of criminal element because of a dismissed charge. It's 44 years ago. And what I discovered is that the only way to get past this is that you have to go to the police department and have the police department remove it. But the police department can't because it's an accurate report. But when I tried to get to an appeal process where the HR department had made a wrong decision, there was no such thing. It didn't exist. So when I finally told the HR department, well, I'm going to go to the school board because this is wrong, there has to be a policy somewhere by which you can examine these kinds of mistakes and have an appeal process. And I spoke to the supervisor of the HR department, and I said to him, do you have an appeal process? And he said, no, we don't. The only thing you can do is go to the police and get it removed. But I'm talking to you now, and I'll have it looked at. And that took 6 weeks. I have a master's degree, a long, successful history, and I always dreamed that when I retired, I would get to teach. I longed for it. I always thought, I'm going to do this cybersecurity engineer stuff because I need to make the money and I want to make a difference. But when I retire, I'm going to be a teacher. You know what? 44 years ago, somebody made a false accusation against me, which I proved wrong in court. And the HR department made a mistake in rejecting my application, and they have no appeal process. So here's my ask to you. Please change that. Please make sure that if people are rejected based on a background investigation, that the HR department has to provide them with an appeal process in case the HR department made a mistake. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you.
Ann Tatus. Dominique Chatters.
Good evening, everyone. As I've said before, for the last 4 years, this is the fourth quarter. You guys are in the last stretch here. And because my Giants won and beat the Packers, I'm in a great mood. So three things that I wanted to address really quickly that I'm hearing about from folks that want to reach out. Year-round school. I know that it's funding concerns, but some of the parents are concerned that we didn't give it enough time to make a proper evaluation. So if there's an opportunity to revisit that, again, I think that we should consider that. The second thing was the all-in for Virginia. And as I explained to some of the parents whose children were selected or recommended to be in that program, that the 180 hours is excessive. So I don't know if you saw that paper where it's saying 180 hours of digital learning. For example, my seventh grader, 180 hours is required, excuse me, my third grader, 180 hours is required of her, is the goal every week on Lexia or Dreambox. And that's a lot for a third grader. It says 180 hours a week. Yes, ma'am. And so one of the concerns that we had, that we're raising is some of the parents prefer the one-on-one option that is available to them through Stride, but we're asking, can these 180 hours be reevaluated or reassessed, right? I understand the goal, but when you tell a child that they have to do, if you tell a child that the goal is to do this many hours, like they're obsessing over the fact that I didn't get enough hours in, mom. You know what I mean? So we just need to work on that. And not, let me fix that, not hours, 180 minutes, I'm sorry. 180 minutes, it's 3 hours. Sorry, 3 hours. So 3 additional hours for a third grader to sit in front of the screen. It is, but it's still a lot for a third grader. And then one of the other concerns brought up was with Stride, with the one-on-one tutoring. Some of that is working for some, but if there was a way to get more, like their teacher, the teachers have developed a relationship, I'm talking about elementary level. Some of them have developed a relationship with the kids, and it's easier for them to motivate those children versus a tutor that they're seeing on a computer. So if we can do something about that going forward, that would be helpful. And finally, I just want to thank all of you for what you've been doing for the last 4 years. I may not have always agreed with the decisions or the discussions that were made at this dais, but I did appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to let me voice my opinions, and you listened. You responded to emails, Ms. Bailey, I appreciate that. And I just feel like in the fourth quarter, in the end of the game, I think you did the best you can do in the circumstances you were given when you first started out. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the board in a different capacity, but just always keeping the forefront that the voices that don't get listened to need to start being heard. That's what brought me here 4 years ago. That's what's keeping me here. is making sure that we're listening to everyone's voices. And I appreciate the time that you guys have given me over the last 4 years to do that. Thank you.
Robert Ebereth.
Everybody tries to change exactly what I prepared to do. I will deal with the flag display policy on the next school board. Right now, it would be relevant for me to reiterate that. I can guarantee you I can prove that individual incorrect of my motives, and I can prove the flawedness in the system when it comes to flag display policy. Anyway, what I want to say now is that there was an incident that happened, which I'm not going to bring up. Luckily, no one's here to bring it up. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention the video, the TikTok video that was out there. I probably should, but I won't. I'm hoping in the work session, because I looked at the agenda, that part of the disciplinary actions was probably part of that agenda in the closed session. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully, if that's a true situation, that actually gets rectified, and then the people are held accountable with the school board fired and held charged with the Chesterfield County Police. Anyway, moving on. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. Some people can be like, whoa, Bobby's supposed to dislike the school board and everything else. I just want to thank Ryan Harder. Mr. Harder, sorry. You opened up conversations with me multiple times, had multiple meetings, multiple emails. You've been very accessible to me, so I just want to say thank you for that. I didn't get to change a lot of things that I wanted to. I know, and gosh, I'm going to get in trouble, and I'm going to get you in trouble. I know you supported on some of my things that I was advocating for. I'm not going to mention any of them. Ms. Bailey, Debbie, I just want to thank you. In the very beginning, I was a greenhorn. I had no idea what I was doing. And so you helped me along the way in the beginning, and then you're always very graceful when you email me back. You don't have to email me back, but you do email me back pretty much 95% of the time. So I just want to say thank you for that. I've learned so much, but I'm still learning, and so I appreciate that. And Ms. Haynes, we don't agree on a lot of things, and that's okay. That's what makes us unique. You can have to find common ground, and we have found some common ground in some of the things that I appreciate you email me, even though I disagree with you, like, I don't know, on the topics that I speak with 90%, 80% of the time. So I wish all three of you guys good luck in your endeavors. We might have job openings in Virginia's showing first if you want to kind of come on. I'm just kidding. And you won't get to see this pretty face no more. I'm just saying, now it's on my derriere the camera is, you'll have to figure it out. But anyhow, moving on. And so what I want to try now is I want to spend about a little bit more time, because one thing I think is being left out is our special needs kids. Nobody comes up here and advocates for them. I know you guys care about them, right? And I know there's some issues with that too, and I'm not going to go into that. But there's some of our special needs kids that are being left behind based on what I'm being told and the evidence that I'm showing. And so what I'm going to make 2024 advocacy for Virginia's Home First is our special needs kids. I'm going to start focusing on that a little bit more, learn a little more about that issue. And so what I want to take a little bit of this time to do, because I saw a public comment that, if I make it through this will be awesome, because this is going to be tough for me to read without glasses. So I'm going to read a public comment that's been submitted, okay? And it's from Aaron Little. And look, I'm not reading this to make you guys look bad. I'm reading this to give this little child a voice. That's it, okay? And I'm not trying to, a lot of people probably say, y'all should feel bad. I don't know all the whole facts, so I'm not going to do that to you. So I'm going to read you his comment. Hi, this is Aaron Little. Nobody is helping me. Why isn't anybody helping us? I am being left out of everything. Chesterfield has stolen all of my happiness, and I am very sad that I was done so wrong and so depressed that life and school are going on without me, that I can hardly do anything now. I didn't do anything wrong to deserve this. And so that spoke power from me, and I know it does to you guys too. And I just ask, instead of spending all this money with the mother and the family and stuff like that, I hope that you guys can reconcile with the next board. I don't know the whole situation. So anyway, Virginia showing first. I appreciate even the ones that I don't agree with. So y'all have a good night. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes this evening's public comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have this evening's Superintendent's Report. Dr. Daugherty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we would like to share a video from our communications team, and at this time, I'd like to invite Sean Smith to come up and present.
Thank you, Dr. Doherty. For tonight's meaningful moment, we'd like to highlight a unique program that's taking place at Elizabeth Scott Elementary.
It is actually a mini museum that my students have work in the museum right now. We have some sculptures and then some drawings currently in the museum. We have another show coming up next month. I came up with the idea just looking through things. I've seen different like general stores and different things, and I thought I can do a museum. I've been wanting to do this for about a year, and I finally got to do it this summer. I wanted to focus on museum manners and not touching the artwork, and so this was a way to do it. So when they come in, they can look, but they don't get to touch it, and they're very respectful of that. So I've been very, very pleased.
Oh, mini
And also
parents. Mini paint tools.
It's my students' artwork is hanging in the museum. The first week of school, I had little teeny pieces that were like this big that they could draw on, and they could do, pretty much whatever they wanted to with the materials on the table. And they just came up with a bunch of different things, and I tried to kind of focus on a portrait gallery or a landscape gallery. They were so excited. I was actually shocked that they were as excited as they were. They come in every week now and they check to see if I've changed anything, which I'm trying to change at least one thing a week so that they'll keep looking and get excited about it. I think that art is very important because they are lacking that creativity, and art lets them let it out. It also helps with fine motor skills. It just enhances everything, writing, music, everything. It's so important that they explore that part of their personality.
Thank you, Sean. Next, we have the annual report from the Special Education Advisory Committee, and I'd like to invite Ms. Gleason and Ms. Smith to come up to the podium now to present. Thank you.
Hello, that video was so cute. I think that's impressive that her kiddos were not touching it, because I think my 4-year-old would have had his hands all over her little museum. So that was very cute. Very close. Thank you for having me. I know you already know SEAC is one of the advisory committees. We are a feisty bunch, so if you ever make it out to a meeting, we'd love to have you. So let me recognize our committee. We have a full committee this year, and they are fantastic. We are parents who are living this. We are parents of children with disabilities that range the spectrum of disabilities and needs. But I really have to highlight our committee. We are a variety of professionals working in the DD field, so the amount of knowledge that everyone brings is just, I think, very valuable as an advisory board. So last year, we had 6 meetings throughout the year. We had one that we had an issue with being noticed, so you'll notice that there, the February one, but all of our meetings are open to the public, and we do have a space for public comment. Lots of great topics throughout the year last year. We have a lot of questions that get submitted about PTA events and special education representation at school events. So I wanted to shout out Bailey Bridge. They held a special needs family fair last year, which was really, really cool. So I think that is really neat to pave the way for some more events at school functions. Thank you to Miss Bailey, because you helped close the gap with some funding for special education athletics. So that was a win for SEAC last year. We created a social media coordinator position. We're not social media influencers, so I think my teenager would cringe if I said to like and follow our page, but go ahead and follow our page. We try to post trainings that are coming up, relevant resources and things like that. So far this year, we have already had a lot of really great conversations, including FOIA training that we do every year, lots and lots of talk about early childhood special education, and then on the flip side, lots of talk about transitioning out at age 14. Upcoming in March, we're super excited about a presentation
you'll see here upcoming positive relationships with law enforcement. If you're not already familiar, individuals with disabilities have typically a more negative outcome with law enforcement. So we're really excited to bring in some folks to have a talk about that. Let's talk about how we can build those positive relationships. How can we have positive outcomes for our students across the spectrum with disabilities? So SEAC has recommendations for the board, and they include communication, training, and transition. So communication. Communication is vital to any relationship, and parents are desperate for information. We would love to see a special education newsletter. Richmond and Hanover have a really great one that could be maybe used as a guide. We would love to see some sort of parent resource center on the website, and I think that might be coming. I don't want to speak out of turn. I feel like I heard something about a grant for a PRC person. That would be fantastic. Parents who are new to special education don't know where to turn, and it can be overwhelming when you're trying to figure out what your next step is. Training. We hear this often, mostly in regards to bus drivers needing some more training for children with disabilities, but I think this is kind of a broad recommendation that there's so many opportunities throughout the school day for students to interact with folks who could use some more training. Behavioral developmental needs of children with disabilities, it's an entire spectrum for our student population. So we would really like to see some funds allocated for more training opportunities. Again, specifically with bus drivers, parents work really hard with insurance to get DME equipment approved, wheelchairs approved, and we need to use that equipment properly on the bus. Transition, this is our last recommendation for the board. There are two major areas of transition that families experience in special education, and that's those preschool years and then at age 14. So this recommendation does hinge on partnerships with the community. So service providers like Chesterfield Mental Health for that EI to ECSE transition, and then at age 14, building that relationship with DARS would be vital. So those are our recommendations. Thank you to our committee members last year who rolled off, and to Ms. Bailey. Thank you for coming to our meetings and joining in on our conversation. You always have something to add. You give us something to think about, maybe a different perspective. I'm here because I want to see our kids win, and I know we can do it. I know that there are positive things happening in special education. I know our SPED teachers are showing up every day and working so hard. I appreciate them as a parent of a child with disabilities. So that's our latest update. Thank you for having me. If you have any questions, let me know. And like and follow us on Facebook.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gleason. Board members, is there any discussion? Ms. Bailey?
Well, I just have to say it's absolutely been my favorite advisory committee. I love y'all. You're passionate about what you do, and you're so very professional, and you bring such a great perspective to what the school system needs to hear. The struggles of the parents and the people who are actually in the trenches fighting the good fight. And sometimes systems lose that connection. And I think advisory committees are a great way for us to connect with our families that are actually the ones that are dealing with the day-to-day. And you have, I actually look forward to going to those meetings and listening to the conversations and your concerns. And if there was ever anything I could do to help, even going forward, please reach out. I am retiring from this board, but not from life. So I really want to help in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anything else? Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for your
you. Thanks for
presentation.
having me.
Thank you. Next, we have School Board Reflections, Dr. Daugherty.
Good evening. Just real quick, just to help some information that was presented. there was a statement about not understanding the Literacy Act, and we've been presenting for a year, and all the information is on all of our websites and in board docs. We're actually in our second year. This is first year of implementation, and Dr. Pope is here, and she can help it. We will promise board we will continue to come back with that information. So we have been talking about that for a pretty long time, longer than I think all but one school district in the Commonwealth over the last 2 years. The information about the HR, that has been addressed already. Dr. Tallis was on that quickly. He came to me today with that information, and you know, we're sorry that happened. It was misread, but they have looked into that already. And good information from the special ed committee, so they know there is legislation that's going forward in this session on professional development funding and additional funding for special education for transitions and for students. So I think that legislation has a pretty good opportunity of passing this year with not doing more, but being smarter about what we do and making sure we have the correct professional development. It won't occur all overnight, but I think over the lifetime of this legislation is over the next 2 to 3 years, they'd have fully implementation. So good news for special education again for that. All right, we ready to roll? This is just a look back, and you know, every month we get to set up there. I sit up there with you, and I'm still here, so that's a good thing. But you don't get to hear a lot of good things sometimes, and that's a shame, but it's a public forum, and we understand that. And we do try to address every issue that comes forward. But, you know, leadership is a capacity to transform vision into reality. And that's a very important point for us. And so these are just some of the pictures. I mean, you get to go with me every month out to Game Changers. We go to events together. People don't realize you probably spend about 20 hours a month with me, if not more. And so you're going to miss that, some of you. I know that. It's hard to get rid of Merv. I mean, you know, Merv's, you know, he's contagious. And so, but that's going to happen. But 2 of you get to stay, and we have 3 new board members, and we'll do some of the same things. But in our departments, we just want to share that there was information and things that happened that over your 4 years you improved. And so to look at the re-engagement specialist, you've heard about how students, over 130 students got their diplomas who dropped out of school. How every child we bring back, of the almost 600 students, can be now productive citizens of society. That right there, we just say that was it. That would be more than most boards would ever do. That they had the vision to go forth and do that. To look at the family and community engagement, and they actually realigned and did a strategic plan to be more engaged, because this board really felt the need to have a strong engagement process in the community. To look at our new system with messaging out, and looking at how we can get more information in multiple languages, and what's every way we can communicate with our families. We recognize community and schools tonight, and the phenomenal job that they do, and the addition of things that have happened on your watch, and looking at how we have, you know, enhanced and made a partner with our county to have a strong printing shop that benefits everyone in this community. And so that was just from our community with our curriculum and instruction. The portal that we have for the instructional K-12, the applications that have been placed in, the literacy plan that the state has approved, and we were one of the first to get approved, and then they've added things in our plan to other school divisions to help. And our students really don't have to do anything new. They just have to be more engaged, but our staff is more engaged with our students. Looking at classroom best practices and things that are going on out of 6 schools a day, and just watching some of the phenomenal instruction that we are teaching, digging in with the students and really helping them grasp a hold of literacy. Saw math classes where they were working extremely hard in concepts. And then our career and ed technology programs, our CTE programs, where they are the best in the state. And the recognition that we get from not only the state, but the federal government on things that we do for students, and the amount of students that benefit from us, and the businesses that benefit from our teachers doing a great job, and that our students coming out ready to work, not applying, they're ready to work. And most of these students are have an employment before they get their high school diploma completed. They have jobs guaranteed, and that's why we do the signing day, to see that, and that is opportunities. To look at finance, budget this year of $965 million. When you came on board, I think it was around 631, close to that. So 31% increase in the budget because of the partnership you developed with the Board of Supervisors and the things that occurred there. And, who knows what this year's budget will look like, but we will continue to push the envelope. Looking at our capital improvement and things that we're looking into, the $375 million. The referendum passed because people believe in education. They didn't want to see more debt in our pocket. They wanted to see us do a better job in housing our students. And we can see this happening, the opportunities that, which you'll be invited, some of you will invite you back for the openings. Then we, Falling Creek in this August, the new middle school next August, 2 new upgrades, rebuilds, 3 new elementaries, couple more, it's never going to stop, but it's exciting to see what the next 5 years look like. I'm not looking at Josh right now because he's probably panicking. He's paper bag, he's fine. The enterprise system that they're excited about, sometime we're actually going to implement it, but they're getting trained. I know Paul is extremely excited. Bob's team are extremely excited that systems are going to talk to one another finally, and we'll be out of the dark ages of our systems. When you think about 8 million meals, really could be 8.8 million meals this year, they're estimating. And when you think about the need of our students, and we went from 7 to 40 schools who were CEP under your tenure, but you understanding the need of our students. And that's forgotten by a lot of people, that they don't understand what you know and how you feel about our kids. And we see this every day. We just don't see it once a month. For people to understand it, board members just don't come one day a month for this meeting. They see it all the time. The opportunity in our human resources. It's amazing how we have over 2,600 substitutes now. When you came in, we had 650. How our rate's gone to over 83%. Our Fridays are our big hit days. You guys believe in what we're trying to do to make sure that we had substitute, which means a great deal to our staff members, that they don't have to cover classes. And the opportunity that, we brought in 30 teachers from foreign countries who were doing a phenomenal job. When I walk into their schools, first thing I hear is, you got to come and see these teachers. And we've already got a process of getting 25 for next year already. We keep asking for more than that, but they just have so many. So we're looking at other avenues. But phenomenal opportunity for diversity in our schools, and great opportunities. When you think of our operations and what they've been able to do, the pandemic, it seems like it was light years away. It was a long time ago. But you allowed for 17 initiatives to occur, which all have come out to help us out in the future now, and are going to continue to help us. But the opportunities that, when you think about the ribbon cuttings that we've had, and the opportunities to open schools, and to, dig into the dirt to start building new schools has been phenomenal. And the importance that you put into security and things that we're doing, and the cameras and the vestibules and on and on and on that we do to make sure our schools are safe. With school leadership and the student support services, looking at understanding that our special ed and our ESL populations are growing, our ESL rapidly doubling on us, and knowing that the need to make sure we have the funding to help our students. But looking at the opportunity that and the passion you had for the counselors, making sure we reduced our counselors ratio to it became more manageable, that we are well below the state average in requests, knowing that it was going to cost us local funding to do that. So thank you for that. And you've heard from the Recovery Academy tonight. And one thing about this board that I really appreciate, you were willing to take a risk. And that's, for me, that means everything, that you're willing to take a risk. Let's show us how it's going to work. Now go do it. And then it was our responsibility. So that means more than to a superintendent than anything, that we're willing to step out there because it's what's best for kids. This is what's best for students. And now we start to see this. And now they're being asked, well, how do you do this? Show us the template. And they're going to be accredited soon. And that accreditation does mean a lot for them because it says, hey, we're doing it correctly because we want our kids to be successful. I'm looking forward to their graduating class this year as well. Kids being successful, have hope, have excitement, and are going to give back to the community with that there. And technology, if I didn't mention technology, Tim would probably turn the screen off. But realizing that we run 70,000 a day, we run 70,000 units a day running, and that cybersecurity and things that are going on, and the opportunities that we've had to look at expanding that area and making sure that we were on safe networks, making sure that the system was correct. And a lot of people wouldn't take that out there because it took time, money, and effort. And we were going to the areas, it's almost like Star Trek, going to those areas of the unknown because we were trailblazing, and now we're thought of a leader of this area because of his leadership and you guys allowing us to do this. So on behalf of the over 64,000, almost 65,000 students, as of today, 64,811, okay. And the 11,000 employees, 67 schools. Your last 4 years, we want to thank you for your dedication, your hard work. Never have to agree on everything. Oh, let me say this. We have to agree on one thing. All means all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Daugherty. Board members, is there any discussion? Okay. We'll save it to the end. Okay. That's what I thought. Next, we have action items with Mr. Smith.
Madam Chairman, board members, as we talk about legislative program, I do want to acknowledge the slide deck that we have is a much larger slide deck. I won't go through all those slides, but really to kind of show the progress for the community. So a couple of things to think about our legislative program for this year. The first piece is we want to continually give perspective to our legislative delegation and the Commonwealth. We're one of over 130 school divisions, but we're also one of the largest school districts in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so it's important to kind of constantly give the context, whether it's people who live in Chesterfield School in Chesterfield County or whether they live outside of here, just how large we are, how large we run an actual business operationally. So in everything we talk about legislators, we constantly remind them of that context. And certainly the next piece as well is really the needs we have in our community and the changing face of our community, changing demographics, but also really that third bullet point there, really the needs of our community. Thinking almost 36,000 students. That's larger than a lot of school districts as a whole across the Commonwealth for the needs of our community, almost 56% of them qualifying for free reduced price meals. So I lead with that only to signify, obviously, the work we have in looking not just at our legislative program, but as we analyze and look closely at legislative initiatives that come forward throughout the General Assembly session. From a timeline perspective, obviously the work for the General Assembly session is signified really through January, February, and March, but we know obviously the work that we do continues throughout the year. Election day did bring us some changes to the General Assembly, and we'll certainly see some shifts also in the collaboration that will be required, quite frankly, of the legislative branch and the executive branch. And it'll be interesting to watch, obviously, some of the initiatives that kind of come forward and what kind of comes from that. Needless to say, it'll be a long session. Certainly, we would like for that to be different when it comes to the budget. We do anticipate it to be a longer session this year. Just last week, we had on December 6th our meeting with the legislative delegation. I'll talk in a second about some of the funding issues, but that was a chance for us really to engage the legislative delegation, those who are coming new to the delegation, those who are leaving us, but certainly to thank them for their advocacy work, but also to begin this conversation about our legislative program. December the 20th, obviously the governor will announce his budget. That's his 2-year budget. That's an important mark. Certainly the General Assembly then will quickly shift to talk about their legislative priorities. Hopefully we'll see some initiatives that remain the same amongst those two entities. The session does begin on January the 10th. I'll spend a lot of my time at the state capitol, certainly being available to the General Assembly members, also following and tracking legislation along the way. When you think about legislative principles, 4 things still remain the same. We want to ensure equally, fair, and unbiased access to all resources and opportunities. The second piece is allowing us the maximum discretion, again, reflecting on the unique needs we have in our school division. The third piece is supporting flexibility, relaxation of unfunded mandates, and certainly that opposition to those that are unfunded along the way. So our legislative positions, the big focus this year, as you know well, is really on the funding piece. We've talked with the county government, talked to the legislative delegation about the JLARC report that's been presented. Needless to say, for those who are not familiar with that report, it does signify the significant funding needs the Commonwealth has to fund for local school divisions. We anticipate, obviously, if that was fully funded at our district level, that's an additional $200 to $300 million. So we're continuing to talk about those expectations for that funding in our school division. In your legislative program, we've highlighted 5 specific JLARC recommendations. In sum total, it's about $100 million. Each one's about $20 million, save one that's about $10 million impact. But that's important, obviously, in talking about those pieces for funding. The next piece, obviously, is our consistent focus on our workforce, looking to make sure that we're attracting and then recruiting and retaining our employees. We've done significant work at the local level with regard to pay increases, and certainly working to adapt that along the way with the county government. The last piece, obviously, is the collaboration we have with our county government. Earlier in the presentation, I did have a slide with regard to Chesterfield Recovery Academy. We've talked a lot about that today in the work session, and Dr. Doherty's comments as well. The Recovery Academy did present to the General Assembly a progress report, which is required by law. It's also important to note that's one of our significant legislative priorities. The General Assembly did provide for us 2 years of funding for that, so we're continuing to advocate with regard to the governor and General Assembly about the increased funding for that. So we're excited about those opportunities as well. Your legislative program, in addition to this PowerPoint, you do have the formal booklet that we have, and we presented that to the legislative delegation as well, and we're excited about the opportunities for this session. From the memo perspective, you do have before you a formal recommendation. The recommendation is that the Chesterfield County School Board adopt the 2024 legislative program and work with the Chesterfield delegation of the Virginia General Assembly to implement.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Board members, may I have a motion to approve Memo 176-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next, we have memo number 177-23. Mr. Smith.
Staff recommends revisions of current policy and regulations as follows. Number 1, revisions of policy 1092, revise, agenda preparation, dissemination, and order. Number 2, revisions of policy 2170, revise, internal audit function, duty to report fraud. Number 3, revisions of policy 3040-R, revise, the uniform grading standards. Number 4, revisions of policy 5040, revise, equal employment opportunity and affirmative action plan. Number 5, revisions of policy 5081, revise, lactation support. Number 6, revisions of policy 5230, revise, sick leave. Proposed changes have been reviewed by the school board attorney. It's recommended the school board approve the above referenced policy revisions to current policies and regulations. It's further recommended the school board schedule these to become effective immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo 177-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next, we have memo number 178-23. Mr. Briggs.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Daugherty. This evening, I'm going to review the action memo in preparation for your vote. I would like to take a moment to remind you that the proposed Beulah to Salem Church move will be implemented administratively. This evening's vote is for Enon to Marguerite Christian, and this proposal moves approximately 110 students from Enon to Marguerite Christian Elementary. Enon is slightly over capacity, whereas Marguerite Christian is below 60% of capacity. Enon has consistently been near or over capacity since its new building opened in 2019. The redistricting will bring Enon's enrollment down to about 87% of capacity, while bringing Marguerite Christian's enrollment up to about 70% of capacity. Pending school board approval, letters will be sent to families whose children will change schools for the 24-25 school year. Division staff recommends that fifth graders be offered the opportunity to stay at Enon through a waiver if they provide their own transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo 178-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? I'll just mention that obviously redistricting is never an easy topic. But what we try to do when we're looking through this redistricting is to impact, as few families as possible when we know that we have an issue with capacity. So, there has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next, we have memo number 179-23, Mr. Meister.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Daugherty. In front of you is memo 179-23 related to the FY23, last year's year-end funds. We have about $19.1 million to allocate through a surplus from last year, largely driven by staff vacancies throughout the district. The memo in front of you proposes a allocation of those of roughly $6.8 million for various operational activities, including maintenance, security, transportation, and other facilities. $11 million to be set aside for operational reserves, largely to fund the FY25 budget. And lastly, about $1.3 million to be set aside as a CIP reserve. The memo in front of you requests that appropriation as well as the appropriate resolution to the Board of Supervisors to distribute FY23 funds. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Meister. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo 179-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? Ms. Heffron?
Thank you for your presentation in the work session. That was very thorough, and I think we're all looking forward to getting those funds back into the pipeline.
There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
And Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next, we have memo number 180-23, Mr. Carson.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Daugherty. I'm here to talk about the bid award for the A.M. Davis School Building and Site Construction Project Award. We are very fortunate on December 7th, 2023, to receive 4 bids from qualified construction firms for the reconstruction of these various components at the A.M. Davis Elementary School. The four bidders were SB Ballard, Shockey, Southwood, and Kenbridge. We're very fortunate, again, with these four, many of whom rather, have worked with CCPS in the past. The bids were opened by our procurement department, and we determined that Kenbridge Construction was the qualified and responsible low bidder with a bid amount totaling $51,991,000. The memo in front of you recommends award of the building and site construction project to Kenbridge Construction for the amount stated. If the board passes or provides award this evening, we intend to mobilize for construction in January of 2024 and open this rebuilt facility in August of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo number 180-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next, we have memo number 181-23, Mr. Carson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The memo in front of you relates to the roof reconstruction at Swift Creek Middle School. We issued a solicitation in October of 2023 and received bids on November 9th, 2023 from 3 qualified bidders for this particular effort, 2 of which are presently working for CCPS at this moment. The bidders who submitted were Northeast Contracting Corporation, Simpson Unlimited, and Roof Systems of Virginia. Upon opening the bids, we determined that Roof Systems of Virginia was the qualified low bidder and responsible bidder for this effort. Their bid totaled $3,227,000 for the complete reconstruction, again, of Swift Creek Middle School's roof. Should the board award this effort this evening, we intend to mobilize for this project in the spring of 2024 with substantial completion coming prior to the opening of school in August of 2024, summer project.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo number 181-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next, we have memo number 182-23, Mr. Carson.
The final memo for me this evening and for your tenure, thank you for your service, is for a change order for the CECLA roof reconstruction project, change order number 6, for some vastly deteriorated soffit framing at the K-pod section of the roof at the extreme east end of the building. This is actually by all accounts, a minor change order relative to the scope of the project. It's for just over $31,161. But given that we have had previous change orders on this project, and school board policy is to come to you when change order value cumulatively exceeds 25% of the base contract value for the project, we come to you for your consent. This existing condition was actually discovered last summer while we were redoing the K-pod roof at CECLA. Given that it was an emergency and that we had a limited time frame within which to complete the work prior to the start of school, we directed our contractor, Northeast Construction, to proceed with a change order to follow, which is why we are here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo number 182-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next
you.
we have, thank you. Next we have memo number 183-23, Mr. Smith.
As chair of the Policy Review Committee, staff recommends revisions to current policies and regulations as follows. Number 1, new policy 5085, commercial motor vehicle operators, alcohol and substance abuse policy. Number 2, a new policy 5086, motor vehicle operators, alcohol and substance abuse policy. Number 3, revisions of policy 5380, drug and alcohol-free workplace. Number 4, revisions of policy 5380-F, acknowledgement form for employees, drug and alcohol-free workplace. Number 5, revisions to policy 5430, school bus drivers. Number 6, revisions to policy 5431, employees in and applicants for driving positions. And number 7, revisions to policy 5432, employees assigned a CCS vehicle for workday use and vehicle commuting authorization. I would note that these policies, as you know, I typically don't come to the board asking you to waive readings. Bringing this to you, it's required as in the county government no longer is providing alcohol and drug testing for our employees, and we've taken on that responsibility. School Board Policy 1200 provides that, quote, if circumstances warrant immediate action on the proposed policy regulation, the school board may suspend its rules and bring the policy regulation up for immediate adoption following a first reading, end quote. Therefore, it's recommended the school board suspend its regular rules of policy adoption by waiving a second reading of the policies contained in this memorandum and approve each following this first reading. Proposed changes have been reviewed by the school board attorney. If approved, revisions to current policy and regulations will become effective immediately. Madam Chairman, you have 2 recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo number 183-23 as presented?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The memo is approved. Next, we have memo number 167-23, Dr. Tylas.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Daugherty. Before you have memo 167-23, which pertains to the topic of year-round schools in Falling Creek Elementary School. A brief summary of this memo notes that during school year 22-23, staff provided the school board a presentation on year-round schools. This included at that time a recommendation to shift back to a traditional calendar. The school board at that point requested additional time be allowed to collect further student data and to prepare another analysis in the future on the year-round model. During the most recent November 2023 school board meeting, the updated analysis was shared with the board. The additional time had allowed the Offices of Research and Evaluation to gather more data about student academic performance, as well as information about intersession attendance. As seen in the prior analysis, the new summary analysis concluded the students in the year-round setting had not grown more than similar students on a traditional calendar. Staff and school administrators in November also presented several of the challenges faced by year-round schools when the vast majority of our schools in the division are on a traditional calendar. As such, in memo 167-23, the recommendation from staff after an additional year of data collection is that Falling Creek Elementary School return to a traditional calendar in July 2024 for the 24-25 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Tylas. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo number 167-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? Ms. Bailey?
Yeah, I would just like to take a second and talk a little bit about this as a board, hear some of your comments as well if you have any to add. This has been a tough one for me because theoretically, year-round school is supposed to be great, and it's supposed to work for kids, and it's supposed to provide more meals, and it does provide more meals and more time for them in front of their teachers and all these things that theoretically on paper sound great. But when I read all the research that was presented by the staff and listened to the data and looked at the finances and the numbers. But the most profound statement that was made that really resonated with me was when the principal for that school stood there and said, I can't hire teachers to work at this calendar. And I have had people turn me down because they don't want to work with this calendar. And now my school is being staffed with annual subs, and our vacancy rate is ridiculous. You can have the best plan in place in any educational system, but what really matters is the teacher in front of the room, a highly qualified teacher in front of the room. And he needs every opportunity to staff his school with the best teachers that he can. And when he stands there and says, I need to go back to the regular calendar so I can get the highly qualified teachers that my students deserve, that's what I'm going to have to give them. And I think that that's what the community in Falling Creek should have. So I'm going to support ending year-round school at Falling Creek, and I hope that the rest of y'all will consider what Dr. Rashad said as well. Johnson. Dr. Rashad Johnson. Sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Have there been any community meetings with the families of Falling Creek Elementary to discuss this topic? It seems like a big topic and one that would have community participation.
There was a survey put out, Ms. Haynes, as far as to try to gather input, where they did receive that through Dr. Fox's office, and that was calculated back in as far as that information was concerned.
Ms. Haynes, I'll add that I have received 0 emails from anybody in the Falling Creek community. Well, that's not true. I've received 1. In other words, I have not been inundated with emails to keep year-round school at Falling Creek.
My one concern, obviously, Ms. Chatters spoke tonight and asked that we would consider holding off. And I also hear, a principal that needs to staff a school. I'm wondering, and it's probably too late, but when we start innovative programs, we do so because it gives us a chance to lead. And it takes, as Ms. Vox indicated, a number of years to actually find out what is going on. And sometimes it takes, like with the Recovery Academy, right, which does not yet have the number of students that we would hope for it to have. And so you do extra work to push the message out and get people to come and tour it. And I can't help but ask if the same thing was done for Falling Creek Elementary, right? Because this is an innovative step, a year-round school. Did we do hiring bonuses to retain teachers, and it amounts that make a difference? It's a hard one for me because I feel like if we had put the proper supports in place, then maybe it would have had the same success as Bellwood. I guess I'm just asking in the future that when we take on innovative programs, that we give them all the resources that they need to succeed, because I feel like this could have succeeded. And we have limited resources. And if we don't have the resource, this was a grant-funded program and the grant is sunsetting. And it makes it hard given limited resources. So it just...
Madam Chair, just on Ms. Haynes' comment, this wasn't a resource problem. To insinuate that we would start a program without giving it resources, that's wrong. That's insulting. We have pumped staff, funding, district staff, district resources Rashad is an outstanding principal. There are sometimes things don't work because it just doesn't work. And the concern that we have is that we can provide 180 days of school and then provide summer school and actually have more time in front of trained teachers and provide additional help with our traditional school and our summer school program at the school. And that's for Bellwood as well. But the data is not indicating that we're seeing growth in the year-round program. If you want to change the entire school system to year-round, that's different. But it's difficult when you are trying to add multiple calendars and the teachers are struggling to get their professional development in because they really don't have the time to grow, and that affects them as well.
I need to respond to that comment because I did not insinuate that we didn't put in the resources. I question. I know very little about this school. This board has received only 2 presentations. This whole board felt that the first presentation was inadequate. So it's hard for me to make a decision on a subject that I have not received that much information and don't know much about. So I do trust my colleague, Ms. Bailey, and heard the plea of the principal, and obviously understand he has to staff his school. And as someone who loves evidence and data and all of that, I'm also wondering, what made Bellwood work, and could there have been a similar environment in a world where there were unlimited resources, which obviously we don't have.
And Ms. Haynes, the study that was done took both elementary schools. So again, remember, one is a staffing concern at a site, which is what was articulated as challenges. Challenges exist across both domains. So just to understand that first, the study itself was presented, we had 2 schools in a pilot to try to give at least a slightly more robust look. Granted, within a division size of the size of Chesterfield, that's not a majority of the schools, clearly. However, the reality still is that when you look at test scores, regardless of which one you want to take, the SOL test scores, the composite came down slightly lower than what the similar students in other schools performed at. So that's not just saying across the county, that's trying to compare students between school sites on a traditional calendar versus students who are on a year-round calendar. When you looked at something like the PALS test that was given, they used off of that test the spelling component, which gives you an indicator as far as reading is concerned. Again, the average with those 2 schools gave you a score below the traditional calendar at that time. When you look at chronic absenteeism, that's higher at one of the schools than the other, quite honestly. Hence, year-round schools was at least incentivized to try to have kids attend more often because the momentum wasn't broken by a longer summer break. So again, I do think we have to be cautious when we're saying it's successful at one place and not at another. And again, I know there's nothing meant intentionally to say something is disingenuous about the opposite place versus the opposite school. It's just a matter of, once again, from the data points that are there that were collected in that study, they tried to use something using a comparative analysis with a much larger data set. As far as the staffing model was concerned, HR did work aggressively to try to get candidates to go to that school. The echoed comment from that principal is what he heard from the candidate pool. Resources were there, so.
If I may, speaking for Bellwood, which is in the Bermuda district, we have, I understand the data that has been presented. However, if you look at the attendance to intercession, it has been more favorable at the Bellwood community. We've heard more feedback from the Bellwood community about wanting to continue with year-round school. It is something that has been very invested in. And so I understand the concerns and the issues that are being seen at Falling Creek Elementary School, but I will have to share from the Bellwood perspective, it is not the same.
Madam Chair. And that's
Haley.
what we intentionally removed these two schools to two separate votes. And so that we could give them each their due diligence in us looking at the schools individually. But to Dr. Tyler's point, I can't say, Ms. Haynes, that I agree with your comment that one worked and the other didn't. I think the data supports that they both did not achieve success, and certainly not at the rate you would want for a school that we were investing more money in because it was grant funded, and it's about $300,000 more per school. I might be off a little bit, but I think that's about right.
About 500,000
500,000 per school to continue on year round. And I'm the last one to pull funding from any program that is benefiting kids. I would, bang the table to get more money if it's helping children. And I don't mind spending money, but I hate wasting money. And so if we're not getting the bang for our buck, but this is still not about money for me, but financial implications are there for sure. So for me, it's about supporting the principal at Falling Creek and the staff there, and then ultimately improving the quality of education that the students are going to be receiving. So I will definitely be supporting going back to a traditional schedule for Falling Creek.
Mr. Harder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, listen, I'll keep my comments very quick because there's already been some lively discussion on it. But, Dr. Daugherty hit the nail on the head. The reality is, if we were going to do a robust program where we see the entire division, in theory, year-round school would benefit our children. But when we only have two schools in a vacuum that are doing it, I don't think, it's a shock that we've had some of the challenges that we've had. Last year it was brought to us, and the recommendation from staff last year was that we discontinued it because the data didn't really show us that it was worth for us to keep going. So we gave it another year, and the recommendation's the same again. So I think just from a leadership perspective, it's important to listen to everyone else from the ground and from staff who say it's not working, it's not effective. Staff hasn't steered us wrong, in the past 4 years. And so I'm going to support it as well, that we move away from it.
Ms. Heffron.
Thank you. I know that we're talking about these two schools, but we could, any of us could say that we have a school that needs support in our district. On this issue, I defer to my colleague in the Dale District who knows her community and who's been entrusted by her community to represent them. I do have some concerns, though, if we are pulling funding, we're pulling programming, we're pulling access to the intercession programs, the partnership with community partners as far as daycare, after school, before school care. What resources how are we going to stand in the gap of all of that when that comes apart? And what are we going to do if we're not seeing the growth and the success that we wanted to out of this program? What are we going to do to see success and growth in these schools? I mean, how are we going to step into that space? And
first of all, when you talk, the funding was for the intercession. That's what the intercession for. So you don't have an intercession, you have a summer school. So before and after school programs that we run with the Y and other partners don't go away if it's before and after school programming. And they're getting the Y to increase those opportunities. The issue of the funding, they don't lose funding or programming that happened during their school day. Or they're actually getting enhanced programming in the summer school program with the 16 days, because we will, one concern was, well, what about my kids and feeding and everything? They come to summer school, they get their days. That's most likely going to be a site of a full day site. with creativity programs in the afternoon. And so those opportunities, we feel we're enhancing the opportunities that we have with, now, everybody in the families, no matter where they go to school, is starting on the same day, so we don't have to worry about in July and August, people, well, I only have one child in school, so I'm going on vacation, and the chronic absenteeism, when those first 7 weeks of school, you can never catch up. So they're starting on school on time, they are in the traditional program. When they come to summer school, which they would do, if you vote, would come this summer, they would have their 4 weeks of summer school. And so the funding of the school is, we've never, they get, that's not being touched. It was the intercession funding. That's what the intercession funding was for, to try to pay people to work those weeks that the kids were off. Remember, the intercession program was not to have teachers working. The intercession program was to give teachers those weeks to plan and look at data and bring other people in to teach. That's what that's the philosophy of the intercession program.
And so that wasn't seeing the success, the growth success that we wanted to see. So we're going to move, just to clarify, so we're moving back to a traditional calendar and a longer summer session.
Well, our summer session
Our
is
typical summer session, right?
4 weeks.
Right.
But
And then,
they don't lose funding as their regular school day.
right. I guess I'm just, like, we're seeing this, I'm concerned about the slide, is what's like, I'm worried, like, that we're not seeing, just not whether, based on whether or not we should continue with year-round school, but as, just holistically, I'm concerned about that slide at both of these schools.
Yeah.
And so that's my challenge. I guess that's the next chapter of this conversation, I guess, is like, how are we going to step in and help these schools from, I know it's part of it's COVID recovery, and part of it's situational, part of it's just that they're, deeply economically challenged
They're
areas.
also allowing his staff to get some needed professional development during the summer.
Sure.
Which they have basically a 2-week time period, and then they're jumping back into it.
Right.
And those sessions they're rushing to get those in
Right.
over those time periods.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we saw a northern projection of the data, it'd be one thing. But are we going to wait till they become non-accredited and say, well, we saw the data keep slipping, and
I am not one to hold the course if it's not working. I think all of us know how to pivot.
and I trust I
Right.
trust Rashad, the principal. He has an unbelievable
But that's my,
feed of the school. Yeah. They've got a strong administrative team. They got a strong support staff, and I think he wants the opportunity to really go get the people he needs to work at the school, because it was a common theme over and over again.
right. Yeah, and I mean, if we have to change course, I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, if we're not going here, then I think we want to know.
And just because one school's doing it longer than the other doesn't mean one school was doing it better than the other, because the data isn't showing that. Okay.
I guess to clarify, doing it better, obviously one school community feels that it's working, right? It's not just about data, it's about kids getting fed, all the things Ms. Bailey mentioned. And if you can't put a qualified teacher, if a school is built on annual subs, then obviously we can't fix the slide. So, agree, but I just don't want this to be dinged as this is not necessarily a year-round school. The ding against year-round school is my point, right? It's the set of circumstances, and I think we need to keep our eyes on that school, because even not as a year-round school, it might need more support. And not just that school. We have lots of schools across the county that could use more support. So we have lots of test scores that are not looking so great.
There we go. There's been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Nay. Got another one. Let's see. Oh. Next, we have memo number 184-23, Dr. Tylis.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Doherty, this is your final action item. I know Scott jumped before, and I also appreciate the work that you've done throughout this time. Memo 184-23 before you pertains to the topic of year-round schools in Bellwood Elementary. Similar to the remarks in the prior memo, the summary analysis from the additional year concluded that students in the year-round setting had not grown more than similar students on a traditional calendar. Staff and school administrators in November did present similar information with the combined data of these two schools at that time. As such, in memo 184-23, the recommendation from staff after an additional year of data collection is that Bellwood Elementary School return to the traditional calendar in July 2024 for the 24-25 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Tylis. Board members, may I have a motion to approve memo 184-23 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Board members, is there any discussion? We just went through it, but I just wanted to mention again for the Bellwood community, I have heard that it is something that is desired for the Bellwood community. So therefore, I'm going to support year-round school to continue for the Bellwood community.
We were sent an 18-page paper on how awesome this is. So it just obviously, for whatever reason, it's perceived as working. Maybe the data isn't showing it yet, but when numerous staff reach out to the board to share something that's important to this community, I support it. And I hate that they're all on their own, so I would like us to consider in the future a year-round school in proximity to Bellwood. My understanding is the reason that Falling Creek Elementary was chosen was there was this idea in the past of you would have one elementary school per magisterial district, but that's not necessarily the best plan. Maybe it's two adjacent schools, so it could be a second school in Bermuda. It doesn't have to be in a different magisterial district. So I would ask that we think about that. But I'm glad it's working at Bellwood.
Ms. Heffron?
Again, I will defer to the school board representative who serves that community and who knows the community and has been trusted by your district to represent them. And it's the difference in responses is clear. Engagement, family engagement, employee engagement has, as far as board communications, has been quite stark, quite a stark difference. And I will leave that at that.
Ms. Bailey?
I'm so conflicted. Because like Ms. Heffron, I feel like I should defer to Ms. Coker in this decision. This is your district. This is your elementary school. And you feel strongly that your community is really asking for this to continue. And I, too, have heard and have read the 18-page paper. And I've gotten way more emails from Bellwood constituents because they often think that the Dale district is their district. Get ready for that, Ms. Chatters. So everybody that goes to Thomas Dale thinks that the Dale district representative is theirs. So you get double emails. But so Ms. Coker's opinion obviously really matters, as well as the fact I've heard from a lot of the Bellwood community myself. I'm not happy that the data doesn't support continuing it, but you have the COVID year to consider. You have the fact that the slide is not huge. I mean, it's not a huge disparage difference. I think I can support Ms. Coker wanting for it to continue, but I have zero power here going forward, as we all know. But I would urge you to really watch the data to see that it is a good use of taxpayers' dollars and that the data does come up at giving more time. And that over the next year or two, if it's still not successful, that you look at going back to a traditional schedule. That community, the teachers especially, seem to be extremely supportive of the year-round calendar, where that wasn't really true at Falling Creek. So I'll support keeping it, which means I would not support that memo.
Well, if I could have the last word up here.
Go ahead.
And listen, I deeply respect all my board colleagues up here, and I definitely respect Chairwoman Coker. But ultimately, the data tells a picture. And for 4 years, we've followed the data, and we said we're going to cling to the data. And even though there may be more outspoken members in that community who've reached out who favor it, I still have to side with our staff that came to us and said, this program is not performing the way that we would like it to perform. And at the cost, if you think between both of those schools, we're looking at $1 million. How many more teachers can we put in a building? Other places? Well, that's $1 million. How many more social workers if they were out there? And I know that that's another problem too. I strongly feel that when staff comes to us, and I think that's just part of being on this, being on the board, being in any type of leadership position, is if you're not listening to those that are bringing you recommendations, that becomes a big challenge. And they don't really feel supported. I feel it probably took staff a lot of time and really a lot of research over the last 2 years to really bring this proposal to us. And I don't think they would have done it if we were seeing results from these schools. And so I can't vote to stop it at one and not at the other. So unfortunately, I would side with staff on this, that it's run its course for 5-6 years. We haven't seen the results. And when we see results and we see data going in one direction, that slide, if we're already seeing it, we have to stop it now. And hopefully we correct course. And obviously in the future, if we don't see, we have to be ready to take, the next board needs to be ready to take actions to correct that. So unfortunately, I would side with staff on this one, just as I would on Fallen Creek.
Thank you, everyone. There has been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Dot Heffron.
I don't like being first. Nay.
Debbie Bailey.
No.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Nay.
Ann Coker.
Nay. The memo is not approved. Next, we have items for board review. Madam Clerk, would you please read the items for this evening?
Madam Chair, tonight's agenda includes the following items for board review. Number 1, Magisterial District Improvement Funds, FY 2024. Number 2, FY 2024 October expenditures versus appropriations. Number 3, Budget Change Request Summary across categories, October 2023. Number 4, Board Committee Reports. Number 5, Pre-K Update, October 2023. Number 6, Report on the Supplemental Retirement Program for Employees of the Chesterfield County Schools. Number 7, Chesterfield Education Foundation Memorandum of Understanding.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have this evening's superintendent's remarks. Dr. Daugherty.
I'm going to yield my time to the board members because I know they all have a final speech to give.
Thank you, Dr. Daugherty. Next, we have announcements, communications, and school board comments. Ms. Bailey.
My very last comments ever. And Merv, you never have to hear from me again, so go ahead, start the clock. I understand there's a bet as to who's going to have the longest remarks, so Somebody time this.
I said I can turn it on. You ready? You have 4 minutes.
Yes. Well, I did take some time to write some things, so. And I am filled with a lot of mixed emotions tonight, gratitude being one, pride, and a touch of nostalgia. Serving on the Chesterfield County School Board has been a profound honor, and it's been my pleasure to serve the Dale District, and I have the deepest appreciation for the time I've had here. The years have been a journey of personal growth, collaboration, and unwavering commitment to the betterment of our educational system. Together, we have faced challenges, celebrated victories, and worked tirelessly to ensure that every child in our community receives quality education that they deserve. Our challenges were unlike any other prior boards and nothing that we could have predicted. If we had predicted it, we would not have run. The historic pandemic that closed schools shined a spotlight on school boards across the nation and placed our board in the crosshairs of an unprecedented, polarizing debate. I'm proud of how the 5 of us navigated COVID and all its challenges. This was no small feat, and I'm proud that the 5 of us pulled together to do what we always thought was in the best interest of students. Despite our challenges, we have had many victories to celebrate as well. The Dale District is getting a brand new Falling Creek Middle School. We raised teacher salaries. We eliminated bus driver vacancies, and we increased substitute pay and improved the sub-fill rates, which ultimately helps teachers. We instituted stipends for high-need schools and provided differentiated funding for schools. There's a long list of items, and Merv went through quite a few of them tonight, and I'm proud to say that we accomplished a lot in our 4 years. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to my fellow board members, administrators, and teachers and staff who have been dedicated partners in this noble cause. Your passion for education and your tireless efforts have left an indelible mark on the lives of countless students. It has been a privilege to serve alongside individuals so deeply committed to the well-being and success of our community's young minds. There are too many names, and I wish I could name them all, but I will certainly miss quite a few individuals that I've had the pleasure of working alongside for the last 4 years. And to the parents and the guardians who entrust us with the education of your children, thank you for your support, your engagement, and your advocacy. Your involvement is invaluable, and I am confident that your ongoing partnership will contribute to the continued success of Chesterfield County Schools. As I bid farewell to this chapter of my life, I'm filled with optimism for the future. Our community is blessed with resilient, talented, and compassionate individuals who will carry the torch forward. The journey doesn't end here. It evolves, and I am confident that under the capable hands of my successor, the Chesterfield County School Board will continue to thrive. As I leave here tonight, I'd like to offer a few words of advice and encouragement to the new board members. This advice stems from hard lessons learned over the last 4 years. My first bit of advice is do not govern on social media. Stay off Facebook if you ever want to get a peaceful night's sleep. Pick up the phone and call people before you shoot off an email or a text. Talking to people face to face is always best. Listen more than you talk, and develop a really good poker face. Be kind and lead with grace. This is not about power, it's about public service. Work with the staff, and most importantly, trust Merv. He leads with integrity and will always tell you the truth, even if it's not what you want to hear. Lean into Dot and Ann. There is no more valuable resource than someone with experience. When we began this journey in 2020, we were all 5 brand new. We had to navigate those first few years without the guidance or the expertise of a returning member. Leave your politics at home. This board is about doing what is best for children. Political agendas have no place here. Trust, but always verify. Believe it or not, people don't always tell the truth. And don't believe everything you hear. Fact check before you judge. And give teachers the benefit of the doubt. You will hear a lot of things. They're not always accurate. Finally, make every decision with one question in mind. Is this what is best for children in Chesterfield County? In closing, let us remember that education is a powerful tool for change and progress. Together, we've laid the foundation for a brighter future, and I am grateful for the opportunity to have played a role in shaping the destiny of the community through education. Thank you, Chesterfield County, and specifically the Dale District, for the memories, the lessons, and the shared commitment to excellence. May our schools continue to be beacons of knowledge, compassion, and inspiration for generations to come. With deepest gratitude, farewell. I am literally riding off into the sunset on a horse. For those you don't know, I'm leasing a horse. Thank you. Goodbye. How long was I?
Mr. Harder?
Well, I will keep mine fairly short, as I could echo almost every word from what Miss Bailey just read. I just want to give some thanks. First, I want to thank staff, because without staff, none of this would be possible. And you're right, when you come into this position, you think you know a fair amount of what really transacts in schools, but you quickly realize you know nothing. Even if you worked in the school system as a teacher, and it does take time to grasp that, and I want to thank every member of staff that has helped guide us along the way. Board members, thank you for these 4 years. Thank you for the friendships as well. You know, you will, to the new board members, you will become friends. Even sometimes when you have different views, you see the world from different lenses. We all have different experiences. We grew up different places. We have traveled to different places. And, but that shared and unique perspective that everybody brings really does help form a cohesive team. And so I just want to thank you guys for being that team for me. Dr. D, thank you. I couldn't think of a better superintendent to have during this 4 years than Dr. Doherty. And we wouldn't be in the position we're at in Chesterfield County Schools if it wasn't for his leadership. So I really hope that you guys continue to value him, because he really is a special person. You know, and I'm not gonna use my time like the past board did on the way out to bash people up here. I thought that, you know, that was just really not how I would want to spend a minute or two talking. But I will just challenge you to the new board members and to the board members that are continuing up here is leave it better than you found it. We all come in at different times. We have different situations, different relationships, different roles, but we all add value together. So just make sure that you contribute and you support each other. And as I said, pick it up from where we leave it off and leave it a better place when you guys finish your 4 years. Thank you.
Ms. Haynes?
When I ran for school board, I dreamed of a board that viewed everything through the lens of equity. There was a brief time when the school board looked at disaggregated data to find the equitable path forward. On September 14th, 2020, in the presentation Equity, Disproportionate Outcomes, we reported that in 2019, only 83.1% of students with disabilities graduated in Chesterfield County. The Virginia figure was 88.6%. And only 60.6% of English language learners graduated. In Virginia, the number was 71%. When the anti-equity hysteria began, we stopped reporting this kind of data. Have we closed those gaps? The public should know. So, Mr. Eberth, I'm glad you're going to focus on special education. If I ran for school board again, I would call for everything to be seen through the lens of mental health and of creating a culture of belonging. Because it's hard to achieve equitable outcomes when we don't always see and understand each other. Our students are struggling with mental health issues, and inaction can be deadly. Dr. Cassie Glenn, the assistant clinical psychology professor for Old ODU at the recent Hunt Institute Virginia Education Summit, said that we are seeing an alarming increase in self-harm and suicidal behavior in 8 to 12-year-olds in Virginia. So moving forward, I would like us to ask, will this agenda item improve the mental health of students that are struggling? I have so many dreams for this district. That has stolen part of my heart. But I will only share two. We have to stay focused on governing without being pulled by polarizing voices. I would encourage everybody to look at the project Listen First. There's a lot of great statistics, but I'll just mention two. 87% of Americans are tired of political division. That's the Starts With Us campaign. 87% say political polarization is a threat to America. And that's the AP and NARC study. And you can Google, there's a lot of data on that. And two, we need to end parent blaming. Yes, parents absolutely have to step up, but many of them are parenting kids that are facing unprecedented levels of anxiety and depression. And we as a community are collectively responsible for much of that increase. At last week's Hunt Institute Virginia Education Summit, which was well attended by Virginia legislators on both sides of the aisle and well staffed by the governor's office, I learned that kids are 6 times more likely to get behavioral health services in schools. And Dr. Doherty pointed that out in his earlier remarks. 47% of kids with depression and 38% of kids with anxiety have behavioral issues. And only 45% of kids reported having one caring adult. What is the percentage of kids in Chesterfield schools that have one caring adult? At the summit, mental health experts noted that the pandemic was trauma for many families, and absenteeism is a casualty of trauma. I appreciate Governor Youngkin's focus on mental health, and I would like to see more financial support for schools in his next budget, and I will be advocating for that. And finally, there's so much that I am proud of. We have been an incredible team on this board. We expanded ESL services to every school in this county. We oversaw the largest expansion of the center-based gifted program and watched this program make extensive progress at identifying non-traditionally gifted kids. Our buildings are cleaner and more of our buses are running on time. We were the first board to stand up to the Board of Supervisors and push unanimously every year for adequate funding of schools, even as they told us we were adequately funded. And we saw, and as a result, an unprecedented growth in our budget. And of course, I am very proud of our HVAC modernization work. I have a special place in my heart for our ESAC committee members and our ESAC staff. Josh Davis is here tonight, and Don Thuma is not, but I got to build a really relationship with an introverted guy that I might not have had I not been on that committee, and he has talent. Students learn better in healthy schools. We have there's so many more people that I'd like to shout out. One of them is not here anymore, Tim Bullis. I shared some very personal moments because it was we had a rough time, all of us. And you know who you are, Tim Bullis is one of them. And I also want to thank Wendell Roberts, our school board attorney. School board attorney hears a lot more than average staff members from school boards, and he was always there for us. I could go on, but it is late, and I think we're supposed to end around 9 o'clock. So I'm going to miss all of you. In January, you will find me in the General Assembly with the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy. I'm excited that I'll be seeing Sean Smith there. He does good work. And if you want to fight for policies to build a healthier Virginia, then reach out, because then I'll get to see you, and I won't miss you so much. So thank you. It has been the greatest honor, top 3 greatest honors, I guess, of my life. I think it's also an incredible honor being a wife and a mother. So thank you.
Ms. Saffron?
Thank you. I'm not going anywhere, so. Yeah, see you guys next month. But no, truly, it's, and it was so very like self-congratulatory, but the 5 of us, I was not sportsy growing up. I never was like, on the team, the volleyball team, none of that. And this is the first real team that I think, we've just got the job done. And that, for me personally, being able to grow in that way at 40 years old, that, we're lifelong learners, right? This is what we do. That you all have contributed so deeply to my personal growth experience, and I just appreciate you. And I really treasure this experience. And like Ms. Haynes, this is fine. It's the top 3. I was gonna say it was like the greatest, but yeah, my family's pretty great. But it's having grown up in Chesterfield, and this is home. This is where my roots are, and being able to serve our community in this capacity through whatever the last 4 years was. I don't even know what you would call it. But it really has. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege. And I am just, I don't even know how to put it into words. The word honor keeps coming up, but the Clover Hill community saw fit to re-up my contract for another 4 years is just so deeply moving, and I look forward to continuing to earn that trust every day. Thanks so much for everything, and I can't wait for us all to hang out outside of this space.
That's exactly what I was going to say next. If everyone just indulge just a couple more minutes. One of the things of being chair, everything gets said before you get to speak. But I so ditto everything that everybody said. It has been a remarkable 4 years, a crazy 4 years. But I just love how we gelled, right? How we just got the work done. We respected each other. We were humble. we learned, we listened, all of that together. And I am grateful that I got to know each one of you and got to know your heart. And I look forward to the next 4 years. And I, too, am very honored that the Bermuda District has seen fit to re-up my contract for another 4 years. And I look forward to getting to build the same relationships with the new board that we had with this one. And this meeting would not be more fitting than to have eloquent words from Debbie at the end, to have Ryan give us uplifting words, and to quote a Boy Scout, leave it better than you found it. And of course, to have Catherine give us some data at the end. So again, and a reading assignment, yes, and some homework, So yes, thank you to all of you. Greatly appreciate everything. So if there's no more further comments, the school board will hold a business meeting on Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. here in the public meeting room. If there's no further business, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Heffron.
Aye.
Debbie Bailey.
Aye.
Ryan Harder.
Aye.
Catherine Haynes.
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. The motion carries. The December 12th, 2023 school board business meeting is adjourned.
I knew that was coming. You have to.